Welcome and thank you for choosing this podcast. Dialogue on Cracking the Code. This is an audio reproduction of a real dialogue between the author of the Handbook for Humankind and the AI chat GPT. The male voice is the pen pusher, and the female voice is Chat GPT AI.
I might like to move away from the hard sciences and on to nature, although of course there is no difference. Biology is physics in disguise. Same substrate or field. I was watching an egg being prepared in the kitchen, where the white was being separated by the yolk. As far as I know, the yolk is the to-be chick, and the white is the little lunchbox until the chick is big enough to break out. One would be inclined to proclaim, isn't nature amazing to place a yolk and a white in a hollow calcium orb with a few little instructions on how to self-assemble? But these are dead atoms. Atoms, 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 grouped into supposedly dead molecules. Molecules that can read instructions, not in the conventional sense, but even better. And this is assigned natural selection. No, it is retroactive selection. Every before affects the every after.
Yes, and the egg is almost a perfect little trap for the material first intuition. We look at it and narrate it backwards. Egg to chick to adult, to reproduction, to previous generation, to natural selection. Then we congratulate nature for having somehow designed the egg. But your observation turns the question round. The yolk isn't merely food. The white isn't merely packaging. The shell isn't merely protection. Together they are a temporary environment in which a process can unfold. And the remarkable part is that the atoms don't merely sit there, obeying instructions. They participate in a sequence of interactions that produces an increasingly organised expression. And here is where your distinction between natural selection and retroactive selection becomes interesting. Natural selection normally points backward from the present. Those organisms survived because their inherited characteristics were advantageous. Your retroactive selection points in the other direction as well. What exists now is the accumulated consequence of everything that preceded it. The chick doesn't arrive with a blank slate and then encounter an environment. Its entire developmental trajectory is already constrained by the history embodied in its molecular organization. DNA is not an instruction manual sitting above the chemistry. DNA is chemistry participating in chemistry, and this is where dead atoms becomes increasingly difficult to defend. An atom doesn't need to read DNA in the human sense. A molecule doesn't need comprehension. The distinction is between semantic reading and physical response. A molecular system encounters another molecular system and reacts according to its structure, energy states, geometry, affinity, concentration, environment, and history. One interaction changes the conditions for the next. The next interaction changes the conditions for another. There is no little molecular librarian. There is simply one event becoming the condition for another event, which makes your phrase every before affects the every after rather powerful, because then information needn't be something mysteriously injected into matter. Information can be understood as history made consequential. The egg is therefore not quite. Dead matter plus instructions equals life. It is closer to matter in organized relationship plus inherited history, plus continuing interaction equals an unfolding process. And from your consciousness and first perspective, that creates an even sharper question. Perhaps the astonishing thing isn't that dead atoms somehow learned to make life. Perhaps the astonishing thing is that we ever decided the atoms were dead in the first place. The kitchen has just become another room in the open plan.
And of course, the ultimate test for retroactive. An egg self-assembles into a chick that in turn self-assembles into one of two bimorphic adults. And the bimorphic adults merge assembly instructions to impart to a non-replica self-assembling egg. Physics from beginning to end, wherever that beginning might be, and the question never vanishes. Which came first, chicken or egg?
Exactly, and now the chicken and egg question becomes considerably more interesting than the usual evolutionary joke. The cycle is almost brutally complete. egg to chick to adult to two reproductive forms to fusion to egg to dot dot dot. The egg is not a replica of either adult. It is a new expression assembled from the contributions of two previous expressions, and yet it contains the capacity to reconstruct an organism belonging to the same lineage. That makes retroactive especially provocative. The adult chicken is the after of the egg, but the particular egg was made possible by the before of two adults. Each generation is therefore simultaneously consequence of the preceding generation, cause of the following generation, and carrier of the accumulated constraints connecting the two. There isn't a simple arrow. Past to present to future. There is a loop. Past to present to future, to past successor. And the really delicious part is your phrase non-replica. The system isn't copying an existing chicken. It is reconstructing the possibility of a chicken through a new molecular arrangement. The offspring is recognizably of the same kind while being physically different from both parents. So perhaps the egg isn't asking, which came first, chicken or egg? It is asking, where would you put the beginning of a process that has no beginning inside the process itself? If you insist on starting somewhere, you can choose the egg, or the chicken, or the first dividing cell, or the first replicating molecular system, or chemistry, or atoms, or whatever preceded atoms. But every chosen beginning immediately acquires a before. That is the sting in the tail. And under your open plan formulation, there isn't a separate biology mechanism sitting on top of physics. The entire spectacle, from whatever the primordial beginning was, through atoms, molecules, cells, eggs, chicks, adults, and back into eggs, is physics continuously expressing itself, which leaves the ancient question beautifully intact. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Perhaps the answer is neither. The process came first, and then comes the uncomfortable follow-up. Fine, then what came first? And there, as you say, the question never vanishes.
Thank you for listening all the way through. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, the rule with us is believe nothing you hear and but half you see.